Welcome, everyone, to the KQ Show Fantasy Edition. So, want to start something new here. So we have a new episode. It's called FantasyCast with Rhetro and the Queez. So, I'm Kyle Quick, and I'm sitting here with Rhett, the Almanac, Zych, and we're here to talk everything fantasy football. To start, the fantasy information that is here today is for general information purposes only. In no event will we be liable for any loss arising out of or in connection with the use of this information. So first I want to kind of start off with just kind of like basic, my basic rules for fantasy. You know, I'm sure you'll kind of have a couple, but just things I always tell myself when I get like a weird dilemma. You know, one of them is I have my always start your Monday nighters. If I'm ever deciding between two players, if I'm just taught, if I'm torn between two, I'm like, man, this guy, you know, plays on a Thursday night, but then I got a Monday nighter. So I always find that start your big games. You know, players always show up for big games. So if it's a Sunday night game or a Monday night game, it's always kind of come true to me to always start my Monday nighters. Now, I'm not saying start some, you know, random cat on the bench, fifth string running back or whatever, but that's always helped me for sure. Is there any certain rules that you live by? Certain ones you focus on?
Actually, I'm a little bit more malleable. Like, I view fantasy as a weekly game, which is a little bit different because, like, you can get down overall. It's a small sample size. So, like, yes, Jonathan Taylor is a better running back than, let's say, Travis Etienne. Mm-hmm. But for 1 week, Travis Etienne, because he's playing the Texans, might be a better play than Jonathan Taylor.
Right.
I mean, that's an extreme example. Let's say it's Austin Eckler. Maybe that's one. But, like, for me, I look at it on a weekly level. That doesn't mean you bench Jonathan Taylor for necessarily Travis Etienne. But to your point, I typically, if I'm between a Thursday night and a Monday night guy, or I consider a Sunday night a big game too.
Right.
I tend to do that, especially with injuries for sure, because I want flexibility.
Yeah.
So I can pivot, I can pick somebody up and also here's another rule. Never start if you do have a Thursday nighter, let's say it's whomever, never start them in your flex. Mm-hmm. That's a standard rule. That way, if something goes awry, you have a multitude of positions you can fill in, as opposed to, I just need a running back, depending upon
So explain that a little more, because that's actually something I was going to bring up. I'm glad you did, because I've explained that to people, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense. So explain to me why it's so important to get your Thursday out of the flex.
So injuries happen. Changes happen from Thursday to Sunday or Monday. You want flexibility. If I play a running back in the flex, or if I play, how do I want to explain this? If I use up my flex position on a Thursday, I have no ability. My ways to pivot are thrown out the window. I either have to bench a running back. Let's say my running backs suck, or I either have to bench a wide receiver because my wide receivers suck. As it gives you more flexibility on your roster come Sunday when you're posting your lineup, as opposed to like, all right, my RB2's gone, but now I have wide receivers and running backs I can put in that flex position
as well.
Or let's say somebody gets hurt or isn't playing, gets suspended. Like, things happen where, tight ends as well, where you want that flexibility on Sunday. You don't need it on Thursday. Right. Like, you don't need it. If it's a wide receiver that you play on Thursday, play him a wide receiver. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, for instance, if you're taking a flex and putting him at a wide receiver 1. That's just for looks. It's for aesthetics.
Right.
Like, Stefon Diggs is your wide receiver 1 just because he's in the flex. They still accumulate the same amount of points. It's arbitrary. So look at your roster you want to put the most flexibility in there. 100% most flexibility. So that way, if you come in on Sunday and you're in between a running back or a wide receiver, you have that ability. But if you use up your flex, now you may just have to, you could get dicey on the lineup side where, okay, as opposed to having 3 decisions to make, well, I guess this is my running back I got to play. As opposed to like, all right, I'm going to play a wide receiver instead. You don't want to lock yourself into a flex position. Or to your point, maybe it's a crazy tight end that you can just pick up quick. It sucks, but it's better than what I got. You know,
exactly.
Like, it gives you flexibility there.
Especially when you start talking about you get deep towards middle of the season. That there's not a lot available on the waiver wire.
Yeah, especially or during bye week. You know, like the big bye weeks where like, this guy's actually not a bad play because there's 6 teams on bye. So yeah, that's one. One other general or a couple general rules, and like I don't like to say rules because it's like I said, I view it as, I view fantasy, and I used to be terrible at it because I used to have such ardent rules, or I used to draft with my heart.
Yeah, we've all been there.
And like there's a good happy medium, but like I was terrible when I first started playing because I knew sports. It didn't make sense. And then I'm like, why am I terrible? And then I kind of took a deep dive. When drafting, throw your biases out the window.
Right.
Throw your biases out the window. Whether it's a team bias, whether it's player bias. Like, I'm a Bears fan. I'll draft all the fucking Packers.
I had Matt Forte for like 9 years in a row.
No, I mean, like, yeah, don't get me wrong. Maybe at the end of the draft, I'll pick up the kicker or something or whatever. Have some fun.
Yeah.
Throw your biases out the window.
Yeah.
Especially your recency bias, whether for good or for bad.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody did really
because that's a tough one. That's a tough one for me. I get stuck in that.
Yeah, you did, and we'll probably talk more about it. But you get, especially with like certain injuries, or you drafted them in the first round and they threw you under the bus. But then now that person is going in the third round and he's worth every penny of that draft pick. So like, because everyone got burned by that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean, and that's what I'm saying. It's not a hard and fast rule. If the guy busted his Achilles tendon or something, or it's something like obviously, but throw your biases out the window. It's hard to do that. I still struggle with it at times, or like I get into blind spots where I really like players, but then there's players around that player that you're drafting that, hey, maybe I should take a look at these guys, or maybe I should draft them, or do a mock draft or a best ball draft and see what I get, or what do I like when I draft this person instead of that. I mean, that doesn't mean don't have your guys.
Yeah.
But like, it also have a wide range of what you want. And so that's not really a rule, but it is like more of like a guideline to don't go in like, I hate that guy. He screwed me over. Like, fine, I do it all day. Pass him down.
I didn't draft the Jets running back for a decade because I took Sean Green with the third overall pick one year.
Yeah, but also because they sucked. I mean,
but even if they were good, I refused. Like, no, Sean Green one year.
No, exactly. But like, if you're in a draft and people are starting to do that, like, and you can tuck that away, so people are going to fall to you that shouldn't be.
Right.
Because you're always going to have your guys,
and every draft is different too. Because if you don't take out your bias, which people in the leagues that I play with, please keep your bias. I do appreciate that,
or even positive ones. Meaning like, man, I'm drafting this guy every year. He won me the championship last year. The TJ Hushmansadas or whatever.
I got rolled in Jackson kind of rolled. I won my championship with him the next year, and I was like, I picked him way too early.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yes. So you get there too, or just like that's why I view it as a weekly game. Like, you'll have guys that you may pick up that win it for you late in the season that were valuable, that maybe are undrafted free agents that the team doesn't care about, but they were injury ridden. Yeah. So he became fantasy viable. That they're going to get drafted in the fourth round last year, and they probably shouldn't be drafted, or maybe be drafted later. Only because your late season, bias came into play. Right. They won me the championship.
Yeah. Holding on to guys for too long, or even if like they haven't done anything, you're not willing to pick up somebody on the. I've been there. I took a tight end, and I was like, no, he's got to blow up, which is actually something that I will get into though. But I do want to talk about one more thing. I think you have some info on this. So here's my. It's not a bias, or it's not a rule. I mean, these are all, like I said, kind of, I guess, my guidelines. But a rookie hasn't proven anything yet. So I've been burned too many times by taking like Clyde Edwards-Helaire when he went to top 6, ADP was 6. He was like the 25th running back overall that year. Something. It was the range was and Kyle Pitts. So these players that have amazing talent, but you have to dive in more instead of just thinking, oh, that rookie was the number one guy. He's gonna be great no matter what. So I feel like a lot of times you got to be careful with the ADP on rookies, because somebody say, hey, that rookie, no matter what, the Chiefs' number one running back, they have to be a top 10. And it was that way. So I'm like, Clyde Edwards-Helaire got him in two leagues, first round. But it was one of those things where it's like, you can't really go off of what they've done in college, because a lot of times certain positions, for sure, a running back usually is going to take you a year, just to get the speed of the NFL. So I think a lot of times, rookies haven't proven anything, so it's kind of tough. Also, the big projections. Projections are more or less opinions. From everybody has different projections. So if you stick with one format, like if let's say you play ESPN, which is where I'm going to kind of use all the projections on, you got to step outside of that too, because again, ESPN is only Mike Clay. He's the one that makes all the projections. Like nobody, I mean, people might have input, but then you're basically taking projections from one person. So get a bunch of different sources. That's my biggest thing. Is, get yourself check multiple sources and do your own research. Because Jeff from accounting comes over. He's like, "Hey man, heard big things about oh boy this week." You're like, "Oh, really cool. I'm going to swap my lineup. Let me put somebody in because So that's one big thing is just do your own research, and I think that's the biggest part about it.
Yeah, I would say going back to the rookies thing. So I see it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I see it where you're right. And I'm going to talk about this a lot if we, assuming this goes well, but range of outcomes. Okay. Range of outcomes is a big thing. Okay. And here's what I learned when I wasn't very good. I always drafted safely. Okay. This person's safe. This person's safe. Well, it gives you 4th or 5th in the league.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean you take risk on everyone. But for instance, the people who drafted Jamar Chase in the 6th round probably were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that ADP made sense.
Yes. If or Najee Harris went in the 1st round last year, but he was getting all the volume.
And that's where, opportunity.
You are seeing more rookies perform better early, like Justin Jefferson as a rookie. But to your point, are they good? You don't know. Is Breece Hall good?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but he's going in the 4th or 5th round. I'd have to look at it again, but I think 4th round.
Mm-hmm.
And they have Michael Carter there, for instance, who is more of like a satellite scat back type.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to get the clear-cut carries on an improved offense. So if I'm going wide receiver early there, or a wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, say, and I'm looking for a second running back, I might more likely take a chance on him because of his upside rather than like a David Montgomery.
Right.
That's where that's where the give take. Yeah. You're right. You can get burned.
And I think
but if you're drafting that person in the 1st round,
last year would anybody have drafted Jamar Chase in the 1st round?
No, but that's what I'm saying. But so what happened was they were drafting I kind of had I ended up having a lot of T. Higgins stuff because of that, but which he did well too. As a wide receiver. But my blind spot was Jamar Chase because I heard bad things out of camp, and that's something we'll talk about where you got to kind of decipher them. Some things you'll get right, some things you'll get wrong. You got to kind of sift through the noise on those things, but drafting at the floor to try and get the ceiling.
Yeah.
So that's why it's hard in the 1st round. To your point.
Yeah.
You were drafting
6 overall.
Let's say Clyde worked out. You're drafting him at his ceiling. He would have been he would have been a low end wide receiver or running back 1, or RB1, which would have been good on a really, really good offense. Okay. But you're drafting them. That's why the 1st round picks everyone feels so burned about.
Yeah.
Because you're drafting them at their ceiling and you need them to at least hit the ceiling.
Yeah.
So like Jamar Chase in that offense, to your point, in an ADP at 6th, 7th round, whatever. I don't remember exactly where he's going. On his range of outcomes, he could have done it. But you're probably drafting him at his floor there in that offense.
Yeah, for sure.
His ceiling was where he went to. So that's where, and we'll get into it. For me, another guideline, I like to go for guys, and I'm not talking 1st round, obviously, because there you kind of are a little safer to a degree. You can take some risk. Like this year, for instance, Christian McCaffrey might be a risk, but I'll take him 4th or 5th overall day every day.
It's tough to take a rookie in the 1st round. Like it's very tough to do.
It is. No, I mean that's
situationally,
exactly
for sure. Especially a wide receiver. I mean,
but I like to try and find guys where I feel their ADP is their floor. What I feel like maybe somebody like that's going this year where like Keenan Allen is a guy. He always goes in the 3rd round and always ends up, or Mike Evans. Now he's being drafted a little bit.
Yeah.
Everyone always dogs him, but he's always a wide receiver
consistent.
1.
Yep.
So like if I go running back and well, that's hard the way the ADP is going now, but if I can go running back and get Mike Evans late and then another running back coming back, I mean, and with Tom Brady and Chris Godwin, like that's what I'm saying. So like he's being drafted close to a wide receiver 2, or and he's been a wide receiver 1 his entire career.
Yeah.
I don't understand. He should be going where the other wide receiver, and he's never. Keenan Allen's another guy, and he doesn't have the touchdowns Mike Evans does, and that's why. And those are good, like, floor guys, safe guys that you can do that, especially in half-point PPR, that you can feel safe with. And then as far as projections to go, I'd piggyback. I agree with you. I'd say projections are informed opinions.
Right. Right. Yeah, they're from.
Yeah. So, like, your point is multiple sources.
Yeah.
But then here's another thing, and I was guilty of this too. Go to multiple sources, but then when you kind of like who you like, because then you're hearing, like, I'm listening to Sirius XM radio. I'm not kidding. On the way here, the show before him was dogging DK Metcalf, and the show after him was saying like, well, he had 12 touchdowns last year with shit. And it's just like, like, that's where your head starts spinning, because like everyone, like, from like, because to be honest, they don't know. We don't know. They don't know what the projections do, or what some of these guys that are good every year, the Evan Silvas, the Adam Levitans, the JJ Zacharyasons, they have a model that makes them more likely to hit than not, for whatever that is. I don't know the science behind it, but like, those guys, tend to have something. They're going to hit more than they're not.
They're the scientists.
They're not going to be perfect. They're never going to be perfect, but they grind it to where. So, like I said, I still listen to all those shows, but I was laughing on my way in because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, this show was literally throwing DK Metcalf under the bus.
It's like
the show after it was like, I was wrong about him last year, but he still had 12 touchdowns. It's just like, oh my gosh, like, who's ever listening to this, like, what do I do? Like,
no,
go ahead.
No, it is that way. I mean, for sure. I mean, that's why you just got to try and find the people that you like and you get excited about. But biggest thing is just don't, you get to, like, just don't tinker with your lineup. You've done your research, you've done everything, you've got it all set up, and then Sunday comes and you're like, oh. Now, I'm not saying don't tinker. Like, look at weather, look at everything. But when your lineup is set and you're comfortable with it, and then like right before people get called, like, oh wait, you don't think he's good? Okay, and then he swaps them out last minute. Like, you got to be confident with your selection.
I always use this metaphor. At some point, you have to say hike, even because it's football. Like, like Aaron Rodgers can throw these. Okay, defense is looking at me at this. Okay, I'm going to throw this guy in motion. Audible left, Omaha, 6-2, Y banana. And then at some point, the play clock just say fucking hike. Just
set it.
And be done with it. Yep. You're going to be angry no matter what. Like, just say hike. Because, I've gotten, and I'm notorious. Like, if they had a transaction floor or limit, not floor, on some of my leagues, I don't tinker necessarily with my starting, but my bottom 3 roster spots, I'm cycling those guys through every day, all day. I have over like 250 transactions.
I think the only awards I sometimes win is most transactions.
Oh no,
you have to though.
Yeah, so do I. So like, I take a speculative ad, like, okay, this guy's going to sit on my bench. Yeah, he's the backup to so-and-so, but fuck that. I want the starter. So like, let's figure out, like, hey, you got a couple of touchdowns. It could be a fluke, or maybe it's something. And at least it's like a better, like, I'm so bad, like, not bad, but I'm like, that's one thing.
I live on them, and like, it's crazy. And sometimes I'll get on there so much, I'm like, damn, I'll go back in and go, I just already swapped this guy out. And I go, no, I got to wait 2 days for this waiver.
No, exactly.
I dropped somebody.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that's just kind of
But you're right with the tinkering. Like, you can overthink yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, especially because, when it comes Sunday, man, I got my, 8 fantasy leagues and then my DFS. And so I'm doing so many things. And then it's like, you get caught in this like conundrum of, oh man,
Or like in the background, I'm making breakfast for the kids and I'll have the fantasy football live just on. Just, whatever. And a lot of it's for like injury news or something like that. But then there'll be like one stat that like, oh, damn, I got to start this guy.
Wait, under 70 degrees, his average is higher?
I literally stop myself and be like, all right, that like, it was an interesting stat, but like, calm down, Rhett. Like, just because I'm like, and like you said, like a mad scientist in there.
Yeah. Well, shit. So I want to get it kicked off. Some big news just happened a couple hours ago. Mr. Baker Mayfield is now a member of the Panthers.
Yes.
So Panthers, they had to give up a lot for. I think they gave up the smaller Gatorade machine and $40.
Yep.
And they got
he has to go live in Charlotte.
Yeah. So a couple questions I want to dive into this. Does that would that more likely guarantee McCaffrey that 2 spot? Because a lot of people are going directly into your Cooper Kupp, and then sometimes McCaffrey won't be there, 4 or 5. Does this more likely put him up to 2?
So even before this, if you had come to me and said, hey, I'm thinking of drafting Christian McCaffrey number 1 overall, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
I mean, it definitely makes sense.
I wouldn't have a problem with it. There's recency bias there. I know he's burned people, but the quarterback didn't matter for him. I mean, Baker Mayfield's a check down guy too. It's not like he's checking into the cheap seats. So I think it more to your point. I think it does solidify him in that 1-2. I think this also affects a couple other items too. I think it affects San Francisco and the Seattle Seahawks, because Baker was rumored to go to the Seahawks. Okay, the 2 quarterbacks that are out there were Baker and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't going to trade Jimmy Garoppolo to the Seahawks. They aren't going to trade him in the
No, not at all. Yeah.
So now, does that affect Trey Lance? Does it affect, because the way Shanahan's saying Trey Lance is the starter. And I think he has a lot of upside if he's the starter because of his rushing ability. But it also dooms this, the Seahawks QB room with Drew Lock and Geno Smith. But if they got Baker Mayfield, it kind of changes the. So it not just affects the Panthers, it affects where the night. Is Jimmy Garoppolo just going to be in Trey Lance's shadow? Is he starting?
I mean, so you don't think they have plans on trading him anywhere else? I mean, is there anybody else that might need
unless they're waiting for injuries? But the only one that I see. The 2 that needed quarterbacks were the Seahawks and the Panthers. All the other ones are either sitting on rookies or second-year quarterbacks that they have draft capital in. The Jets aren't doing it.
What about Atlanta? They don't have much. I mean, I know
that would be interesting. That might be the only play,
because that's the only team that really I don't think is confident at all. I mean, I don't think.
Yeah, but they did pick up Marcus Mariota.
But that's the thing. I mean,
they drafted Desmond Ridder. But then if you're going to bring up Jimmy, if I bring in Marcus Mariota and he doesn't work out, I'm going to see what the 3rd-round rookie can do. I'm not going to sit on a $30 million contract or whatever Jimmy Garoppolo is. He ain't cheap. It's, I think, 25. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's up there. It just doesn't make sense.
So it does affect not just the Panthers here, because in an ideal spot for everyone to get the socialist view of this, for everyone to get the quarterback would have been Jimmy to go to the Panthers and Baker to go to the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of gets interesting because now there's a lot more players at play here that probably you want to wait for them, then they're going to fall. Now the Seahawks are going to fall down the board because a lot of people were drafting them, at least at its current
in the expectation for Garoppolo.
Yeah, but for Baker, and then the Panthers. I think the Panthers were always in play.
What do you think this does for so DJ Moore? So I mean, he's going ADP right around 18 wide receiver. Do you think how much do you think that moves him up? Because I know you had some cool stats you want to talk about.
No, so
I mean, because right now, just to give you an idea, he's getting drafted right now, right around Michael Pittman, Mike Williams, and McLaurin.
Okay.
So do you think with Baker there, do you think that puts him higher than them, or do you think that kind of keeps him right around that ADP?
So last year with Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, the skeleton of Cam Newton, he finished 19th overall, so wide receiver 2.
Okay.
He finished with 163 targets, 93 receptions, 1,157 yards, and 4 touchdowns.
Damn.
If he just gets 4 more touchdowns, he's probably a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
With a bunch of college quarterbacks.
And you got to imagine there was no McCaffrey all year either, so there was no more. Dump passes.
So
yeah,
there is some nuance there, to be fair, but I think he still did it with those bums.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So even now with the running back starting and a new QB,
where I would have kept him in the same realm, perhaps. Where because I'm a big Michael Pittman guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like where he's being drafted, and I think they got an upgrade at quarterback, and he broke out last year. But if we're looking at the depth chart of the Carolina Panthers, I mean, other than McCaffrey, who will eat targets?
And Robbie Anderson, who just tweeted in April that he didn't want Baker.
No. Yeah. So
he's captain inconsistent.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, he's a best ball guy.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the target share will still be the same with probably a better quarterback, and they're probably going to be playing from behind a lot. They're playing in a tough division. The Falcons obviously aren't great. But the Saints are good or better. I mean, they have Jameis Winston, but they're always solid, and the Buccaneers. So they're probably playing behind a lot. And I think that's where a lot of these targets came from, to be fair. I mean, I would probably put him above Pittman right now, maybe into the second round, late second round now.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, the McCaffrey thing's interesting. Assuming he's healthy, I know that's
because
like
I mean, I look at it this way: no matter what, if you have a running back there that can cause so much trouble, if you're going to try to just hey, blitz everybody, keep him in, contain him from any wheel routes and all that, then you're going to open up the deep ball for the people. So I think as long as Baker can throw the ball deep, I don't know how consistent he's been with that. I mean, he's had Landry and Odell, and he hasn't really made much of them, and always a great offensive line too. So it's not like he didn't have time.
No,
that's just I don't know if I've seen anything out of Baker that would make me think that DJ Moore would be number one. But I think DJ Moore's overall talent, I think I could see him. Yeah, I could see him breaking possibly top 10.
So he does go down the field a lot. His average receiving yards per reception were 12.4, which is good with a bunch of bums. And so, I mean, 163 targets. That's insane. They obviously were playing behind.
Oh yeah, for sure.
His receiving yards per target, though, were 7.1. So,
and he had a damn good running. I mean, the running game there was amazing. I mean, they've had
Yeah, I mean, even so, obviously Chuba Hubbard saw time last year. I think it definitely. I don't think it bumps him up into the first round or anything, but I think it puts him at a more viable solution to be drafting.
I could see him like you.
I would be passing over him unless it was like I needed a wide receiver in that tier. But now it's like, because before it was like if Pittman was gone, I'm like, I got to pivot here. Or
I don't have any DJ Moore out of all mine.
I have a couple that I just because I felt like, but
it's just not knowing who the because Sam Darnold's he's not a quarterback. I don't think he's gonna maybe a decent backup. But
no, and I think a lot of it was the touchdowns.
Yeah,
I mean, he only had 4 touchdowns with 1,100 yards. That's kind of crazy. Like that, he probably should be. His touchdown rate should be probably higher than that.
Well, good deal. That's pretty much the newest news we've got. So what we do today, we're gonna dive into the NFC North and the AFC South. I'm a big Bears and Colts fan, so taking out my bias, was a little difficult. As you can see, I didn't wear the Bears gear. I was like, maybe it would be hard for me to talk about the Colts if I'm rocking all Bears gear. So all bias aside, I'm really excited to hear what you have to say for my Bears. So 1 sec. All right, let's get at it, Bears.
Okay, so last year they finished 6-11, third in their division. 27th in the league in points for, at about 18.3 points per game. 30th in the NFL in yards per attempt passing. So they did well.
That's a rough one.
After the season was over, Matt Nagy, the head coach, was fired, and Ryan Pace, the general manager. So they're in a year of transition. They brought in, we talked about the Colts. They brought in Matt Eberflus to coach. He's the former defensive coordinator of the Colts. The new GM, who's from the Chiefs, he worked in the front office of the Chiefs, Ryan Poles. So that's hopefully promising because they tend to do well.
Yeah.
And then the new OC is Luke Getsy. He's from the Packers. He was the QB coach and passing game coordinator. So, there probably are upgrades there.
Yeah.
The leading receiver last year was Darnell Mooney, who we'll talk to in a second, with over 1,000 yards, surprisingly, in that offense.
That was huge.
On 81 receptions and 140 targets. Again, similar to DJ Moore, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean,
so like those red zone targets matter. They do have a lot of people, or a few people that left. Like Allen Robinson went to the Rams. Finally, God bless him. Finally gets to go play with the quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm actually happy for it.
Yeah, first time in his
Blake
10-year
Bortles,
career.
Mike Glennon.
Oh yeah. Mike Glennon.
The neck.
Chase Daniels for a
Yes.
minute.
Yeah, whatever. Probably some backups in Jacksonville when Blake was hurt. We don't even know about.
Minshew, I think, for a minute. Was he here for Minshew?
No,
I don't know, but he's definitely had a very long slew of worst quarterbacks.
Jimmy Graham left. He's currently... And then Damian Williams, the backup running back to Montgomery, went to the Falcons. So the current depth chart, obviously Justin Fields is the first and foremost. He's their first round pick a year ago. He's their quarterback. He was picked 12th overall. He's right now being drafted roughly as the QB 18, in between that QB 16 and 18, 122nd overall. He actually is interesting late. He does rush he rushed for, I believe, 384 yards last year. About 384 yards. Mm-hmm. And then he showed flashes. He was playing with a lame duck coach. The only thing that scares me about Justin Fields is the new regime came in and gave him no help.
Yeah, we were almost 30th in offensive line last year, weren't we?
Yeah, so they drafted offensive line late, but they didn't even bring any wide receivers really in.
Yeah, I mean the depth, nothing to help him.
Yeah, the depth chart is they brought in Byron Pringle, a 40-year-old rookie in Velus Jones. Or he's like 25.
Pretty much 40.
It's like, he really played well last year. It's like, because he's playing against 18-year-olds.
Yeah, you got 5 years till you're done playing.
I hit 50 homers against my kid's Little League team. And then they brought in a bunch of retread, like Equanimeous St. Brown, Tajay Sharp, Daz Newsome, Dante Pettis, who had a cup of coffee with the Niners, and then David Moore, who played with the...
Didn't Pettis kick it around with...
the Giants for a little bit, yep. And then... so they didn't really bring in anybody to help him. So I don't know if that's like a make or break it for him, or just they don't believe in him. I don't know, because it's a new regime. They didn't draft him. How they really feel, it will be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now their schedule is interesting. Their over-under win total is 6.5 wins based on DraftKings right now. They play the AFC East, which, you have the Bills, Patriots.
It's not a fun one.
No, the Jets are probably improved.
Yeah, Jets are actually
and decent. The Dolphins.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Their bye week is week 14. Their strength of schedule, based on last year's win totals, is 24th overall, which, so they have a weaker strength of schedule. Overall, it looks like Ryan Poles is trying to bottom this team out to rebuild.
Yeah.
For years, especially with Ryan Pace trying to keep his job, he was drafting based on just trying to make the playoffs and keep his job.
Do you think they're trying to tank?
I think it's certainly plausible.
Okay. Because just me taking my Bears hat off, it would just say this looks exactly like what everybody else does when they start to tank.
I feel, yeah. Their games, I think they are. So, their games of note, they play at the Packers week 2. They play at Foxborough week 7. Those are both losses. They play at home against the Bills week 16 while they're tanking. And then they play, and their week 17, which is the championship week, they play at the Lions, which we'll get into.
It used to be an easy game.
No, yeah. They're going to be behind a lot. They are currently, I believe, favored in 3 of their games.
So what do we play? Washington?
No, they're favored in one of the Lions games.
No way.
But not the second Lions game. It's the look-alike. I swear to God. They're dogs against the Jets.
Oh, for real?
Oh, yeah.
All right, well,
Oh, no, yeah, here it is. Week 3 Texans. Lions.
Okay, Texans.
Oh, no, I counted this, but they're a pick 'em against the Falcons. And they're dogs against the Jets by, yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the overview before I get into the stats,
Yeah.
I guess, as far as what I think.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be bad. There's just no other way to slice it. Now, I think they'll play hard for Eberflus. He seems like this isn't a knock on the coaching. I don't know. We'll see. New coaches. We'll see what happens there. guys seem to be responding to him. It seems to be less rah-rah Matt Nagy, full of shit stuff. They're rebuilding. They will be playing from behind a lot. The question is, with Justin Fields, he could be somebody that you could stream.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Based on the matchup. So like week 3 against the Texans. Like, oh yeah, but you're probably not streaming a quarterback there. So if you are the one that takes 2 quarterbacks in a 1 quarterback league, Justin Fields late might be a guy, but I'm not one to do that because I'll just pick somebody up, but to each their own. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. He had 72 rushes for 422 yards in 12 games played, and he's cheap to draft.
I mean, that's 30 yards, roughly 30 yards a game. Somewhere right there. That's 3 fantasy points right there. Just in rushing.
Yep.
So the fantasy implication. I don't mean to interrupt. So
no.
And I don't know if you get so the fantasy implications for Fields. If you're saying late, they're going to take him as a second QB.
Yep.
What would you say? I mean, if your ballpark, where would you say would be a decent spot to take him? I don't know if that's really easy to say.
I think he's fairly priced.
Okay.
With upside. I think he's fairly priced with upside with his rushing ability. So rushing at the quarterback position is huge.
Yeah.
It's a cheat code. It's why it's why like the Lamar Jacksons, the Trey Lances, the Josh Allens,
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. So like, they have such a floor where even if they throw for 200 yards, they rush for 75 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, you can rush for 40 yards and get the same amount of points as passing for touchdown.
Your margin for error and that floor is massive. Or they throw for 2 touchdowns and run for 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So the rushing ability does intrigue me. The suckability of that team is what's scary. Byron Pringle is currently the wide receiver 2 on that team. That's not. I'm not even kidding.
I know.
Like Darnell Mooney is a good wide receiver, but he's not a wide receiver 1. He would be good wide receiver 2 on a
he'd be a good
talented team
behind a good Allen Robinson.
Yeah, or something awesome. Like that. Yeah. So, So with Justin Fields, I think he's priced fairly. I think in different unique leagues, we're talking a standard, not half point PPR, but not like I don't want to confuse people, but like a 2 quarterback league. If you were in one of those,
I got you. Yep.
You could take him late if you end up punting on the position for the second quarterback. He'd be somebody I'd be intrigued with just because of the upside in the second quarterback.
I think he's going to get you 12 to 15.
Yeah, I think so.
I would say I think his floor is probably 12.
I think they'll be improved as far as the functionality and the not looking like a shit show.
Yeah.
It's just their roster's so bad.
Yeah.
They drafted some defensive players, but they lost Akeem Hicks. They have Roquan Smith. Like, they're going to be playing from behind.
And we have 6 games against teams that are really stacked. You know what I mean? I think, obviously, you're always going to have the Packers, but I know you're going to get into it later, but Detroit has done a lot. And, Minnesota, it's just, it's no longer a cakewalk and all we do is fight the Packers.
Yeah. Oh, no, I know. So, like, the divisions, the Bears are probably the worst team in the division right now.
Oh, they're slated to be the bottom 5 teams overall.
Yeah, I would take the under on 6.5. Oh yeah, I would take the under,
especially if you get to the point where you've already lost so many. You're talking about the end of the year. You start to get to some tougher teams. You're like, no.
Well, they're going to play the rookies. Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and sit down?
Or they keep playing him. They throw him out. The quarterback room is him.
They still got Chase Daniels?
No, Trevor Siemian.
Oh, that's right.
Who actually isn't terrible.
Yeah, he's not terrible.
And then they have Nathan Peterman, who I thought threw himself out of the league. But
wasn't that the Alabama cat?
No, he was from he was from Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
And then he had a cup of coffee with the Raiders, and I think oh my God, the game. I think he threw 4 picks in his first 6 passes. It was like me and you out there. It was ugly. Or no, he got drafted by the Bills, and he threw it
I remember. Yeah, nightmare. I remember. Yeah,
nightmare. Going on to the running back position, David Montgomery's a starter. He's going right now around the RB16, 33rd pick overall. I think he's fairly priced. Thing with Montgomery is he plays well. Now, there was an anomaly. He played really well in week 1 against the Rams last year.
Mm-hmm.
But typically it's when he's ahead. And then he finished as an RB1 last year in week 16 and 17. They beat the Seahawks. Nick Foles was the starter. he had something like against the Cardinals, he had 8 catches for 51. He had 7 catches with Nick Foles against the Seahawks. And then they blew out the Giants with Mike Glennon at quarterback in week 17. And he had, they beat him like 30-3. So if the game script is right, or if it's like neutral, like meaning like it's a close game, he does well in, but like unless they're ahead, typically he only does well, or he has a dink and dunk quarterback like a Nick Foles. Andy Dalton was the quarterback in the Cardinals game. I think Nick Foles or Andy Dalton was the quarterback in the Giants game. They're check down city. Fields doesn't tend to check down really.
So do you think, no, and I don't mean to interrupt, so do you think with the new, offensive coordinator coming out of KC, right?
No, he's coming out of the Green Bay.
Okay, got you. Do you think that's going to open up a little bit more? Because I'm thinking, isn't there anything in the books for like RPO where you'd see, you'd have the option?
I think they'll do that for sure.
Because there was none of that.
No, I think they'll evolve it. I'm
Okay.
just saying, like, as it stands right now, David Montgomery's history is, I
Right.
think they could evolve it. And they have a very capable backup who emerged last year in rookie Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, he's badass.
Who is actually, I kind of like drafting late in drafts. He's going RB49 at 158. Like, if you're looking for a running back, and these are kind of called contingent running backs, meaning like, hey man, he's going to start and be their running back 1 if Montgomery, the contingent on Montgomery. Now, we're not rooting for injuries here, but
right.
if it happens, if he goes down, we saw he was a running back 1 and 2 in both games.
Over 20 fantasy points in both games, that he started.
So, and he showed promise. He might even eat into that load.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be more, he's coming, Luke Getsy's coming from Green Bay, so it could be more of a, maybe I'm saying not literally like as good, but Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon type thing.
AJ Dillon,
because Khalil Herbert, Khalil Herbert, showed his worth, and he's younger, and there's a shelf life there, and this staff is not tied to David Montgomery.
Yeah.
That doesn't. I think David Montgomery is a quality NFL running back.
Yeah, he's
but like
consistent.
I don't even have a problem where he's being drafted. But for me, I like wide receivers there more, where he's currently being drafted. So I don't have as many shares of him. But what I've been doing is then picking up Khalil Herbert late if I need, pick up, similar to like an Alexander Madison who you might get into, where if Dalvin Cook goes down, he's the starter.
Same thing like Dillon, yeah.
Wide receiver wise, we talked about Darnell Mooney, who I've been drafting a decent amount. He's going wide receiver 33, 82nd overall. I think that's fairly priced. That might get juiced once the casuals start drafting more, or but I think he's fairly priced. He had a good stat line last year. He just doesn't get touchdowns, and that's the problem. He finished as the wide receiver 23. He had 7 games at wide receiver 2 or better. So, he could be a good wide receiver 2 for you or maybe in wide receiver 3. Depending upon what your roster looks like coming into, the 5th, 6th round. And I think Justin Fields will improve under Luke Getsy.
What do you see this? What do you see the ceiling? What do you?
I think he could be a solid wide receiver 2. I don't think.
Who'd you put as if he predicts, like if you say, his ceiling could be here, who would you throw him in the ranks? If he could hit his ceiling, where would you draft him at? Like where would you throw him at?
I think he could be so he finished as a wide receiver 23. He's currently being drafted as a wide receiver 33 now.
Okay.
With probably an improved offense. I think he could possibly, you're talking a lot of garbage time points, perhaps. Yeah, for sure. So like no different, you get some of those guys, like DJ Moore, I think was a lot of that.
He's up at 25 now.
Yeah, so that might
again, this is trends on ESPN.
Yeah,
so this isn't actual ADP, but it's kind of the trends.
Yeah, so
he's on his way up, but yeah. Because right now he's sitting right around this is ESPN average. So we're looking at right around Amari Cooper, Cortland Sutton, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So
yeah, I think he could fit into that. His ceiling might be in that 17-18 range.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you think about it, if he got if he can get more touchdowns, and some of them he was wide open on.
And Jimmy Graham's gone, the crutch.
Yeah, so, well, the one I'm getting to is I like a lot next. But, you know, I think he could finish, if he probably should have scored 2 or 3 more touchdowns, and that probably puts him into that 19-18 range. So,
I mean, you think he's a top 20 guy?
I think he could be.
He could.
Yeah. You know,
if he sees progression in touchdowns, basically.
Yeah. I mean, he finished with over 1,000 yards last year, and I mean, a bunch of targets, and they lost Allen Robinson.
Yeah, and it wasn't like Allen Robinson was taking a lot of stuff.
So where's the target share going? Yeah. So, yeah, he was out for a stroll. Another one that's interesting in the wide receiver, I guess 2 of them were, but one of them definitely is draftable, is Byron Pringle. He's going wide receiver 94. He's pretty much free.
He's at a KC?
He's out of KC, yeah.
So what is because he was their 4 guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, he saw a lot of time, but like it's a lot of motion and, you know, like DeMarcus Robinson's their deep guy. Pringle's. Hardman. Yeah, so like, and obviously Poles brought him over, so he likes him because he came from Kansas City.
And how old is Pringle?
I'm not sure.
No, but he's not old.
No, he's
25 or under or in that range?
Maybe in that 26, 27.
Okay, he's not 30. He's not over 30.
No,
okay, I got you. All right, cool.
He, like I said, he's free, and he's a starting wide receiver too, as it stands. Same with like Velus Jones. Does Velus Jones win that job, or what is he? You know, I mean, he's like, that's why, like, but
he's 28.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. He's right so he's not old.
Yeah, he's in his wheelhouse. Yeah.
So like Velus Jones is interesting too, but I would wait and see on that, or even watch preseason. But I don't think they're going to give much away on how they use him. But
such garbage on that depth chart.
It is.
Tajay Sharp and Dante Pettis. You guys down for league minimum? Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, exactly.
My wife wants
all of them.
My wife wants a new screen to
exactly,
import.
All of them. Now going to tight end, Cole Kmet, I like a lot. So Jimmy Graham's gone. Allen Robinson's gone. He had 3 tight end wide receiver 1 games last year, and there's no more Jimmy Graham, and he's cheap. He did finish as a tight end 21, but that's because he wasn't getting red zone targets. He didn't score any touchdowns.
Yeah.
And so you're talking, I think he was at 13 or 14% target share last year. If he jumps to 20% and gets more red zone targets, I mean, he's dirt cheap. Like if you punt the tight end position, he's somebody late.
Yeah.
Draft him. Like he is actually probably the most draftable based on his price. Where like, okay, I didn't get Kelsey, I didn't get Andrews. I might go 2 tight ends just because I punted on the position and I'm taking dart throws. Cole Kmet should be one of them.
Yeah.
And he's going into his 3rd year where you see tight ends tend to, unless they're like freaks of nature, tend to take the leap. Because tight end's really hard to learn in the NFL. You're learning to be an offensive lineman. You're also learning to run routes. That's why it takes them 2 to 3 years, typically, unless you're like I said, like a Kyle Pitts or something like that, where they aren't asking you to block. But he's one that I find interesting that I've been getting a lot if I've not been going the elite tight end where I consider, the Kelsey, Andrews, Pitts, Waller, Kittle, those guys. Him and you'll probably get into in the Vikings. Irv Smith's interesting there too, as far as late. But dart throws on a tight end where, okay, boy, I need to get some tight ends, and it's getting to the 11th hour here. I'm telling you, he's a guy drafting because he's going to get target share, and they're going to be behind a lot. So, and then I'm not going to talk about kicker, but it's Cairo Santos. But
he kicks balls. Sometimes they go in, sometimes
as far as I have, notes for the defense, I just have absolutely not.
Yeah, I figured.
and then I said, you can stream them like week 3 against the Texans, maybe as a streamer. Like,
yeah.
Eberflus is a defensive guy, and he probably, at least his first year there, did really well with the Colts, probably with a makeshift unit on some levels. So I mean, they'll play hard for him.
Yeah.
They drafted Kyler Gordon out of Washington in the 2nd round to kind of pair with Jalen Johnson at corner. But
it's probably not somebody you're probably even with your last pick.
No, I would let it sit. And then like, for instance,
At
like
least till week
I
3, you said?
draft defenses. Like I looked at like the first 2 to 3 games. I didn't give a shit about like the Rams or whatever because I'm still looking at players.
Yeah.
And then I'll look at the first 2 or 3 games, and then if it's like the first 2 games, oh, the Titans play so and so and so and so, I'll take them, and then maybe the Bears for week 3, and then I'll play that game. Because no matter what, you're going to be dropping that defense you draft at some point anyway. Unless if you keep a defense on your, unless I guess it's like total elite, like
I mean, if you happen to with your last pick get somebody, oh hey, this year like the random years, the Eagles or somebody,
exactly
somebody random that they can.
Or always look this was not a rule but a guideline, but for defenses, always look at the first 4 games or 2 to 4 games because you can have a defense for 4 weeks and then figure it out from there and then get the next 3 weeks, and then you can actually stream it that way where you're not, running around, with your hair on fire trying to find a defense or you're starting the Texans against the Bills or something, so like always look at the first 4 games of the season. Now it doesn't have to go up to 4 games, but look at those and be like,
get a good
a good gauge of like, okay, nobody's really drafting these guys and they have the best matchups. So that's another guideline I didn't kind of touch on.
I got you. Well, good deal. Hey, so I'm going to roll right in here to you got anything else for the Bears?
I mean, I could.
Oh, wait, no, we want to keep the podcast.
No, exactly. Keep going. Go ahead.
We'll get to the end and be like, oh, yeah, and also there's other teams. No, so, NFC North here, Packers, they're favorited to win again, the NFC North. We got Mr. A-Rod, back-to-back MVP. Concern I got 50 out of 70 20-plus yard receptions last year went to Scandling and Devontae. So they're both gone. So the depth chart there is Alan Lazard at the 1, possibly Sammy Watkins if he even makes the cut. He's there, but who knows what happens with him. He bounces around to 10 teams a year. And then somebody I want to get your opinion on, and that's Christian Watson. 6'4", 208-pound rookie out of North Dakota State. I know nothing at all about this cat, based just on his overall size and being able to get up and get the ball. So, I don't watch a lot of college. I think. What can you tell me a little bit about Watson?
So, I mean, he dominated the FCS. Very talented. You just don't know, and we've seen this hit or miss. Typically, it's missed. How it's going to translate playing with the bid. He's got good size. North Dakota State's a very good team. They win national titles left and right. So it's not like it's like flukish per se. He's going to be playing with an outstanding quarterback. I mean, he's being drafted in a position where
he's being drafted 49 Lazard, 50 Watson.
So
they're going back to back ADP.
So here's the thing. As an opinion, we project Rodgers to throw for what, 35, 40 touchdowns?
Yeah. I think his average is 30-something, 37. So, yeah, call it 35, 40.
Who's catching him?
That's exactly it. Somebody's got to catch.
But that's what
balls.
I'm saying. So, Lazard might be the guy because he caught, he's there. But, Rodgers is a fickle beast, too. He either likes you or he loves you. It took him a while to like Devontae.
Yeah.
He didn't like Devontae's rookie year because he kept dropping the fucking ball. And then he loved him. But if he likes Watson, so to your point, coming back to the beginning of the podcast, where he's being drafted, it's volatile. But if you hit on him, he could the wide receiver 1 for the Packers based on what we think Aaron Rodgers is going to do.
He's being drafted in the 12th round.
That's what I'm saying. So now if he duds on you, who cares?
It's a 12th round pick.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So that's where you almost want to throw some of your darts.
Right.
You see that with quarterbacks too, but
if you're drafted,
same thing with Lazard. I like both of them.
Who are you taking? If you're at 49-50, who are you taking?
I'm taking Christian Watson.
Okay, so you think the upside's strong?
But if Christian Watson was off the board and I need a wide receiver, I would take Lazard after.
Of course, yeah.
Just because somebody's got to catch those touchdowns. Now I think they're going to be a lot more run heavy. That's why I like Aaron. I don't want to steal your thunder.
No, yep, I got you.
That's why I kind of like Aaron Jones where he's going. But even if he throws for fucking 30, somebody's got to catch him. And Aaron Jones is one of those guys too.
Exactly.
But Robert Tonyan is
yep,
you can have some fun. But I would take Watson just because he's one of those. We know what Lazard is. I don't know if he can be a wide receiver one, but like Watson could be that guy. But the range of outcomes is he could be a dud.
Right. But yeah,
but in the 12th round,
you're wasting a 13th pick technically. But you be 12 for 13. So
yeah, which you might even be dropping in the first 2 weeks anyway, no matter who you draft.
Exactly.
But that's my point about being safe and going for it, like to a certain degree. Okay, I'm going to take some middling backup running back because I need depth at the. Fuck that. Give me Christian Watson who can literally make me an elite team.
Yeah. For sure.
If he hits.
And I'm glad you brought that because honestly, so one of the things I always say is opportunity is key. So Aaron Jones, he's going as the 11th running back. So second round. So from 2019 to 2021, with Davante Adams on the field, Jones averaged 16 PPR points a game and 3 touchdowns. Without Davante Adams, 25 PPR points and 10 receiving touchdowns. So he's a fucking steal at running back 11. I mean, if you don't hear that, I mean, literally, you think about, now I understand, Davante Adams is such a good wide receiver. Rodgers had to do nothing but throw it somewhere near him. And when you look at that, again, over the course of 2 years, you're talking about more than, triple the receiving touchdowns. And again, that was when Rodgers still had other people to throw to. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
This year, you got nobody. So I think you're 100% right with Aaron Jones. I think, so it poses a question, 2 questions. Do you think he's a first rounder?
Oh, I think he could be.
Okay.
I'd have no problem if you took him late first based on who's going off the board. So when you're talking running backs, especially in half point or full point PPR, you want those guys that profile that catch the ball. A catch is worth more than a rush. The standard rule. When it comes to fantasy, a catch is worth more than a rush. Yes, the Derrick Henrys of the world, but the year he went running back 1, he caught a lot, like 40 balls. So like your DeAndre Swifts are interesting. Your Aaron Jones because he catches the ball.
McCaffrey.
Yeah, McCaffrey. Even Jonathan Taylor catches. It's not as much, but a catch is worth more than a rush by about 1.5 points, I believe, typically, just based on the opportunity, typically. So I would have if anybody took him at like 10, 11, or 12. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's up to you. It's your, it's your kind of choice there, depending upon who's on the board. Like, I'm not going to sit here and play no matter what. Like, you just don't know. But I would take Aaron Jones as so if you, for instance, let's say you go wide receiver at your 10 or 11, you can get Aaron Jones on the comeback in the second round and kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, depending upon what wide receiver you get. But I mean, could you do a Diggs Aaron Jones start? Like, that would be interesting. Or if you want to go running back, that you could go. I've seen Derrick Henry go 8-9, and then Aaron Jones on the comeback. I mean, you don't even need to draft a running back till the 10th fucking round in that.
Nope, then that way you just grab
you start having some fun. Like, okay, I'm not even looking at running back until, Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that could be fun. Or like I said, if you do go wide receiver in the first, Aaron Jones is somebody. Now he's probably going to jump up. Right. He's probably going to steam a little bit, maybe even creep into the first round. So as we speak now, this information may change, but you could go wide receiver, like even a Devontae at Oakland, if you like that, or a Stephon Diggs I've seen go late, or let's say you go a Kelsey.
I was about to say a Kelsey. You could do a Kelsey.
You go Kelsey Jones, and that's an interesting team.
That's a phenomenal.
That's an interesting team. It's. I kind of actually like the running back there. That could be fun. But, or a Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones. Mm-hmm. Dalvin Cook's going late. And so, I think there'd be no problem if you want him at the 10, 11, 12. He's probably going to be drafted there by the time the season starts.
So we got the concern here. So you had A.J. Dillon, who ended up with over 800 yards. I don't know if that was total overall yards or rushing and receiving combined. He's going at the 31, 30. We'll call it 30. So he's being drafted right around a 30th running back, right around the 9th He's getting drafted amongst, which is kind of bananas. So he's kind of getting drafted amongst your pretty much almost your Damian Harris, your Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and your we'll say your Tony Pollards. You think that's a fitting spot for him, for A.J. Dillon, or do you think he has more upside? What are your kind of thoughts on Dillon?
I think he's too expensive.
You think so?
Right now. Mm-hmm. That's the problem with the Packers running backs, or at least I have in best ball.
It would be, try and pair them. There's no way I would be taking him.
They're so expensive. Well, I mean, not Aaron Jones where he's at, but he's going to get red zone carries. He will. He could have standalone value, meaning you can start him at a running back too because of his touchdown.
Yeah, the red zone, right?
Yeah, because he does get goal line carries and he's good at it. I don't think the Packers view him as, unless Aaron Jones got hurt, as a guy, the guy. I would still be interested, and I could be wrong, but let's say Aaron Jones goes down. I don't know who the third stringer is, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers signed somebody, and that would be telling. Because typically, when teams with standalone backup running backs that they like a Tony Pollard, they might bring somebody in for depth.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to bring somebody on the practice squad because if he goes down,
right,
we're going to be able to.
Yeah, you need to have somebody. I got you.
It would be interesting. And AJ, and he's got ginormous thighs. You've seen the pictures. He's a
beast.
He's a brick shit house. He's a brick shit house.
Saquon.
I think he's highly talented. He can't catch like Jones. He's not terrible as what people think, but I think he should be going later.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, where he's at, no, I mean, I think you could take a starting running back, or a Kareem Hunt, or a Clyde Edwards, or So, I think his ADP is way too high now. I think his ceiling, is decent, but you got to talk about for risk for injury. So.
Yeah, because I mean, I would say a lot, and I'd have to look specifically, but a lot of that yardage, the specific yardage, Aaron Jones was gone 4 or 5 games last year.
I think he missed 4.
Yeah, so he missed 4. So I mean, that's probably, and not that I'm sure A.J. Dillon played well in those games, but he was still behind Aaron Jones.
Yeah,
I was at the Packers-Bears game in Lambeau, and Aaron Jones was the guy.
Oh yeah,
and that was in October. Yeah, but you don't unless it's something like an Achilles or something. Injuries are, yes, they're over 3-4 years. You can be injury prone, but I don't necessarily totally put that into play unless it's I said, a prior horrific thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, so we want to go into the last thing. I want to go tons of fun Tunyon. So I like Robert Tunyon. My gambling last year didn't. Good God. Yeah, just please just catch a touchdown. So, snapped. Yeah, had a lot of the first touchdowns. He's gonna get one.
Oh yeah.
But no, snapped his ACL late October.
Yeah.
And his ADP right now, he's about tight end 20. Puts him right around the 16th round. He's averaged 8 points over the course of throughout his injuries. Okay, that was 8 games for his injury. The issue I see, that was when you had a whole stacked full team for Rodgers. Rodgers had a lot of options then, and Rodgers honestly has never been really a tight end touchdown guy. There's been spots, but I think ever since Devontae Adams jumped in, and he could go, you put him on that out, it's done.
Sure.
Corner out, he's good. So I like Tunyon where you're going. I'm a guy that takes tight end really late. If I'm not getting, there's 2 guys I would want. Maybe second, third round, but outside of that, I don't think I really put too big of a focus on it. But Tunyon's one of those guys I think I've seen Rodgers get very frustrated. You call it out. He gets very frustrated with wide receivers. If you he's like Peyton Manning. He's like, do your fucking job. If you don't do it, you're not playing.
Yeah.
So I could see him getting frustrated and finding an easy out, either whether it be the Aaron Jones, a little dump out or pass or wheel route, whatever.
Well, he's going to go to who he trusts.
Exactly.
He zeroes in on who he trusts.
And right now, the only people he's had consistently, and I'm not even saying Lazard, because Scantling and Lazard were kings of, oops, you dropped this touchdown. You dropped that.
Exactly.
It was back and forth all the time. So I think and it's just me, my instincts, my intuition, I guess, would say that I think he'll see a better opportunity. But now we're talking about, though, coming off an ACL is usually a year.
Oh no, not in this day.
I mean, for like 100% though.
Oh, he'll be back.
So like he's going to be 100% by
in October. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's now. I mean, they have that dialed in. It's like
just like a weekend.
Oh no, yeah, exactly. They do the surgery. The surgeon's half cocked.
You're going to do in 2 months.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're talking.
I thought it was really maybe is that Achilles? I'm thinking of maybe.
Oh yeah, Achilles.
Okay.
Achilles is way worse because like we've been able to improve them coming back based on medicine, but the procedure they just reattach the tendon. There's no other advancement, and that's why Achilles, especially for actually anyone, but for running backs, like you're done.
Yeah, we lost.
Or it's not good.
Watched old boy snap his live on Instagram.
Oh
God, it looks so bad. Oh, but yeah, so really, that's my thing with Tunyon. I think he's got, it's always about opportunity. What is the opportunity? Are you going to get the ball more? And I think he's at this point, he's a 3-year guy. So that kind of puts him, I would say with Rodgers, a veteran. All right, so what do you got for us, NFC North? Hitting us with what you got? The Detroit
Lions, and I think they're going to be much improved.
We know they have the most expensive roster in the NFL, right? Am I wrong?
No,
I think I'll look that up, but
no way.
I heard that.
Is it because of Jared Goff?
I don't know. I thought I heard that.
No way. It's got to be the Rams by a country mile.
I think I'll look it up. I'll figure it out. But.
Okay, so they weren't good last year. They finished 3-13-1. But they have a new coach, or they had a new coach. He's in his second year, Dan Campbell, and I have a couple of futures on him being coach of the year. And actually, full disclosure, as a Bears fan,
the Detroit Lions have a payroll of $250 million for their roster.
Who's the high? It's got to be Goff's contract.
They have a bunch of defensive cats too, man.
But
I don't know why it is
pull up
either.
Their contracts.
Players, I don't know. All this says is who has the most expensive contract.
Who's their most? It's Goff,
man, right? I don't know. I got to look. I'd have to dive into that deeper.
They have a bunch of rookies though.
Are they still playing? Still paying Kenny G? Galladay? Are they still?
No way.
Yeah, I thought so. I heard it somewhere, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Because right away I was thinking, no. What about Kansas City? What about Buffalo? What about the Rams? The Rams have everybody.
Hold on, we're gonna pause this thing.
We're good. Oh yeah, we're good. We're good. I can just sing Boys to Men.
Boys to Men, ABC, BBD.
NFL Fantasy.
Yeah.
All right, we're just gonna stop.
I know. So Jared Goff is a $31 million cap hit, but I believe the Rams are paying some of that. I could be wrong, or maybe not. Maybe they were paying it last year. Taylor Decker, their left tackle, is a $18.9 million cap hit. Romeo Okora, former Domer, is a $14.5 million cap hit. Jeff Okudah, second-year rookie, he was a first-round draft pick. He's a 9.1.
I mean, they've been picking top 3 for the past decade. They've got to have contracts,
So... Oh, shit.
Yeah, because they didn't even spend the most money last year. It's crazy to think that.
So they have $9 million in cap space.
So
they have a total with the top 51, including dead cap. Shit. With rollover, they have They have $9 million. But with all I don't even know how they do this because they're gonna.
I just think I'm 250 million is bananas.
This is terrible.
Listen, we're figuring things out.
Okay.
People are happy about it. But I mean, regardless, you could dive into your.
Anyway.
I know Detroit. I know you have a lot to talk about Detroit because that blew me away too because they got a
So they have the 5th easiest strength of schedule going in based on last year's records going into the season. They did pick up DJ Shark from.
Sorry,
no, it's fine. I in my head.
I know.
I was in my head.
Yeah,
you just finished.
I don't have that inner monologue.
From Jacksonville. He's a talented guy.
Yeah.
He's been battling injuries. They did draft Jamison Williams, first-round pick. You know, the reports on him is things are going along well, but, like, I mean, he tore his ACL late.
No, he's rookie, right?
Yeah, he's out of Alabama. He did it in the SEC championship game, I believe, in December against Georgia.
Well, then he should.
Or it was the national title game. No, they're saying September, or he could end up on the PUP list just because, which is the physically unable to perform. Which is what's going to be me after this podcast when I get home. Baby! Anyway, on the PUP list, which means now they do have the 3-game PUP list, but typically it's 6.
Well, you're saying if he got hurt in September?
No.
Oh, this was
December,
January, probably.
like
then.
SEC championship.
So like,
yeah.
I mean, because he's younger than like a Tunyon who was it the same injury or not?
Yeah, he tore his ACL.
Okay.
So
he's a young buck. I mean,
they're talking September, October. He's highly talented,
but they're not trying to rush him out there. They got a pretty decent depth.
No, so those are the additions.
What's his size overall? Like, what's he? I mean, was he a slot? Was he? I don't know how much.
He actually was started out at Ohio State.
Okay.
And then transferred. Now, part of the knock is he good because he went to Alabama, or is he good? Did he go to Alabama because he couldn't compete? I don't know. He's 6'1.5", 179, 180 pounds.
Is he a fast guy? I mean,
yeah, oh yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah. He, I think he ran.
Who would you compare him to if you were to say like a wide receiver?
He would be. Oh man, that's a good question. He's probably the most talented wide receiver out of the round 1 wideouts that got drafted. Drake London's interesting. He's a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
Who would I compare him to?
Because I hear a lot of talk about him. I just didn't watch
him. He's probably Jamar Chase's.
Oh, okay.
To a certain degree. Yeah. A little bit taller, but same size. As far as like frame.
I got you.
But anyway, so they drafted him. They have Jared Goff, who actually, isn't. He finished the QB 27 overall. He's being drafted at the QB 27 overall. Which is basically 182 overall on ADP. So he's dirt cheap late.
Yeah.
It's a make or break year for him. He's making $31 million. We just figured that out. He has tremendous weapons. Thing with him is, and he did this with McVay when McVay was there. His first year at the Rams was push the ball down the field, and he doesn't really do that anymore. Or I don't know. Some of it's he's not great. He didn't have a terrible season last year.
Didn't we see him though maybe you'll get into him with St. Brown? Didn't he at the end of the year start tossing that ball out there more? Or?
Well, yeah. It wasn't more so the deep ball as the targets.
Okay.
So like St. Brown was getting 14 plus targets in his last 5 games.
Mm-hmm. And I thank you for helping me for the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I thought he was known for the deep ball.
Maybe it's because of the
probably better weapons.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, to be fair,
he have Cup and Woods, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And who else? He had Van Jefferson late. No, maybe that was just that. No, he had Van Jefferson, who is a deep ball guy. So he threw 494 times last year, probably coming from behind a lot. 67 completion percentage for 3,200 yards. That's from a fantasy standpoint. It's not
great, but it's
19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So he wasn't pushing the ball down the field. He had 6.6 yards per pass attempt. My assessment of Jared is he's a streaming QB based on matchup and based on the current strength of schedule. There will be opportunities, based on who they open up with, who they play, because I think they're going to be highly improved. I think their over under is 6.5 wins as well. Same with the Bears, and I think they go over.
Last year they didn't have any besides the rookie. I mean, they had what they had. Did they have Galladay last year? That was hurt all year.
No, Galladay was already on the Giants.
Okay,
Galladay was on the Giants.
Who didn't they have? Because they had Swift.
Khalif Raymond and Quintez Cephas.
There it is. Good old Quintez mostly.
That's like straight out of the Key and Peele.
It is for sure. So I mean, his options are pretty limited. I mean,
Yeah, and T.J. Hawkinson and DeAndre
Yeah.
Swift.
So I can't wait to get into those two guys.
Yeah, no.
for sure,
Speaking of
for
DeAndre
sure.
Swift, I think he's similar to Aaron Jones. You can get him early second round, early to mid.
Yeah, he's going at the 16.
Yeah, so
That's too late for him for sure.
versatility pass catching. He had 3 games with 7 or more receptions. He was 4th in overall targets last year in running backs. 4th overall in targets. 4th in receptions.
He missed 4 or 5 games too. didn't he?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He, as far as like playing time, because some people get worried about it, he had a 67% snap share, which means, there's a committee. Jamal Williams is going to see some time, but he's in 2/3 of the time.
Yeah.
Now, some of this is, are they behind and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And he does have a little injury kind of bug, but that doesn't affect me yet. It's nothing major. Yeah. I mean, but if you get what you got last year, great offensive line. The Lions have a great offensive line.
That's probably who they're
They
paying for.
drafted Penei Sewell. They got Frank Ragnow. It is good offensive line. And he finished 18th last year in half-point PPR, played 12 games, not including Week 18.
Mm-hmm. I got you.
Okay? So if you actually compare that, Zeke finished 6th overall, but played 16 weeks and averaged...
There we go. Get it.
So he finished 18th in half-point PPR, played 12 games, not including Week 18. Zeke finished 6th overall, but played 16 weeks. So the points per game, him and Zeke had the same. Just didn't play the same amount of games. So, and Zeke finished 6th. So that upside is there. So like I said, I think he's very intriguing. If you go wide receiver, or if you go wide receiver late, you want that running back. Similar to like an Austin Eckler on some levels, like a couple years ago when he was going second round. Aaron Jones is like we just talked about. So he's going RB2, 16 overall, second round. And I mean, he finished last year with 78 targets and 62 catches as a running back. It's an intriguing spot.
Yeah, for sure.
We do know Jared Goff, like 6.6 yards per attempt. Now, that could be because of his weapons. Let's see. But Amon St. Brown isn't like he's a good wideout, but he's not a blow the top off type wideout. So I don't see that changing. And so I find him fairly priced and totally viable.
Is it where's are you talking about St. Brown?
No, I'm talking about
okay.
DeAndre
Okay.
Swift. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, you're good. I got you.
So that kind of, as long as he can stay, even with 12 games, I would take 12 games for him. But like, as long as he can stay healthy, he could jump into that easy top 5, top 6 running back.
Oh, yeah, especially with that offensive line.
I'm telling you, the Lions are good. They're better. Like, I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they can play. They are setting up their offense or their team almost like a year from now to be that QB away. Their roster is getting much improved. Their secondary is a little young. We'll see if they improve. They have good coaches there. But and their defense is improved as they picked up Aiden Hutchinson, second overall. So they'll have some pass rush. But so they might not be behind as much, and they play hard for Dan Campbell. We make fun of him talking about biting the kneecaps and shit like that. But like they played hard for him, man. Like, it resonates with them. They find it genuine. So, DeAndre Swift is a viable, where he's being drafted right now, is a good, either as a second running back. For me, if I'm going wide receiver in the first round, I'm targeting him and Aaron Jones in the second. With a couple,
if you could land at the 8 and 16 spot,
that's what I'm, or like,
scoop up
yeah,
like
or
a
like
Najee and a Swift combo.
if you want to do the RB,
yeah.
but if you go wide receiver,
You could hit a good wide receiver and come back and get him.
be comfortable.
You could probably scoop. You could probably either go Diggs or Adams and come back and get him.
Yeah, you could go a couple of different routes there.
That's nice.
You
It's
could
a good
even
spot where he's at.
yeah, you could. It would be a gamble, but you could even go Jamar Chase at the 5th, 6th, or 7th, depending upon where he's going, and see if you can get that. And still have options.
Yeah,
at the
you
ring.
could. Yeah, you could possibly sneak in Justin Jefferson if people are down.
Depending upon where he
If
falls.
you got Double J and Swift,
And then if Swift if Swift dies on you, and we'll probably get into it in a different pod, but although Saquon Barkley is a guy I like too, but he's steaming up the board now.
Yeah.
He was at the third round when I was drafting an underdog.
I remember we both were, and you were like, you said, you go, no, he's in the third round. You draft Saquon Barkley in the third round. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Moving on to the wide receiver core we were talking.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So Amon St. Brown, end of the season on fire. 14 targets in his last 6 games. Pretty much won you probably the playoffs. He finished second overall in the championship week, 6th and 7th throughout the playoffs, and then even 6th leading up to that. He did have a week in one of those 5 where he finished 33rd overall, which isn't great, but either way, like he finished on fire. Some of that did have to do with, and here's the argument against him. Swift was banged up during some of that time. Hawkinson was banged up during some of that time. So was it because out of necessity? But even when those guys came back and played a couple of games, he was earning targets. It's a small sample size. He's going, my question I have is he good or was he good because Hawkinson and Swift were hurt? So,
yeah.
I mean, they did draft Jamison Williams in the first round. They did draft him. I mean, and knowing he's hurt, he finished wide receiver 24. He probably, if you picked him up before the playoffs, probably won you your league just based on having those wide receiver finishes. Currently being drafted wide receiver 22, 59th overall, 5th round. That's what I have. Probably priced right with upside. Yeah, there's a risk there. That's why he's not going 1st or 2nd overall. But that, you put him on another team and he finishes 1st and 2nd there. Yeah, he's probably going in the first 3 rounds.
I mean, he was double-digit targets from week 13 to 18.
Yeah,
and Swift was only out for a few of those. I don't know what Hawkinson was out, but that's crazy to see because he had. And then you just think about touchdowns.
Yeah,
he had a touch every single game except one in the last 5.
Yeah, no, I mean, he finished on fire.
I forgot how good he was.
So, like, my question is though, like, is there recency bias there? They picked up Jamison Williams.
Mm-hmm.
They picked up DJ Shark, who, when he played and was healthy, had some fantasy viable weeks.
You see Shark as number 1, though?
No, it's Amon St. Brown. At least now. I mean,
you don't think he could eat? Yeah, because I mean, you don't think Shark could?
No, he could. I mean, that's the thing. Like, but like targets are earned and that talent was shown. So like, does Goff trust him? Similar to like Kupp, where he likes him. Now I don't mind a late flyer on DJ Shark where he's being drafted.
Yeah, for sure.
If he's healthy, he could be viable.
Where's he get drafted at?
He is currently, he's probably in your 12 to 13 rounds. And some of that has to do with the injury and Amon St. Brown.
Yeah. No, so go back to, what's the status there?
He's healthy. Shark's healthy.
So Amon St. Brown.
Oh, sorry. So I think he is fairly priced.
Okay.
What I'm afraid of is he's going to get steamed once drafts start to pick up because of what happened last year.
Gotcha.
And casual start. Like where he's priced right now, I think he's going to be higher price come the season, and I don't like that price going into the 2nd, 3rd round. There's too much risk of a problem to it.
So Shark's going at 71 overall at the pretty much called the 17. 168.
Yeah.
So how much higher is St. Brown going?
I have him at...
He has to be, right? Shark can't be higher than him.
Yeah, he's going 59 overall.
Oh, there we go. Yep, got you.
Right. 5th round.
There we go.
I mean, he could potentially finish as a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, for sure. And so you're talking about like if you can get him in the 5th or 6th, you think it's
I think that's fair to take a shot on him as a wide receiver there if you have your running back set, or like you have, let's say you draft Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, and you're sitting on running back, and you get a tight end, you start steaming wide receivers. He's a total, fair price there. Like nice. That's not a problem. Where it would concern me is if he starts to creep up into that 2nd, 3rd round.
Yeah, he's 22 right now.
Because I'm taking Michael Pittman over him.
He's up a little bit. He's touching into the 5th.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You're right. He's creeping up.
He's starting to get steamed.
So you think that's going to... Yeah, okay. So what do you think right now? So if you're doing your draft, it's September 1st.
I think he's going to be in the third round, maybe late in the second. So? And I'm taking Michael Pittman over him any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Just because, like...
Oh, we'll talk about Pittman.
Well, I know. But, like...
But yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is like...
Oh, so if he pops up in there and you have the choice to take him or Pittman...
I think he's priced too high, yes. I would...
You think him in the second or third to be priced too high?
Yes.
Third for sure?
Man, I guess if it's September 1st, I would need more information. Yeah. But as it stands, I think he's priced too high in the third.
Okay.
Hawkinson being back, DeAndre Swift... Let's say DJ Shark, and then Jameson Williams. Let's say
because Jameson Williams is not going too much further behind him.
Yeah, but let's say we start to see a report come out that Jameson Williams isn't going on PUP. Now, granted, we're only going off the information we have.
Right.
He played really well with the opportunity, so like that's value. And targets are earned. So there's that.
You taking him right now if you're drafting him. You taking him. I'm going to try to give you a little thing. Okay, you taking him, Jerry Jeudy, Darnell Mooney, Chris Godwin, or Marquise Brown? Out of those 5. That's where he's getting drafted right now. And I know that's just today's value, so that can change. So
I would take Marquise Brown over him.
He's going literally at the same spot as him. They're going 21, 22.
I'd go Marquise Brown over him. I'd go... him over Jerry Jeudy. I like Courtland Sutton more.
That's Marquise Brown. Same Brown and Jeudy. It's right in that order.
And then who are the other? Darnell Mooney.
I mean, below that's Mooney and Godwin, and Sutton's actually below that too. Now this is just the average. Now this isn't even 80. This is live draft trends.
Okay,
This is the newest. This is updated to how people move up and down.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so.
Because there's not a lot
probably
of people
take him over Mooney.
Now, okay. I could see that.
Because I think he has the higher upside.
I mean, you're number one better off. You said the best offensive line.
Yeah, exactly.
27th
yeah, exactly.
Line, so no, I got you.
And then who was the last one?
I mean, that was Sutton, but Sutton and Jeudy pretty much around the same.
I would take Sutton over all of them.
Okay.
Well, Marquise Brown's starting to. That was a blind spot I had, and then
maybe when we talk about Arizona, we'll talk him because he always forgets to catch. Touchdowns.
Yeah, but
I know it's just one big game, but
yeah,
I mean, come on, guy. No, I got you.
Anyway, so Jameson Williams, I do want to touch on him.
Yeah,
if your league has an IR spot, like that you can put somebody into and you're allowed to do it, he's worth a flyer. I mean, as far as like you can hold on to him. Mm-hmm. If nobody drafts him because they're worried about him, pick him up, and then you can still go back and get somebody.
Okay.
Or you draft him, put him in the IR spot, and then just go get somebody.
Yeah, somebody else to fill the spot. I got you.
Because he's worth to sit on.
Mm-hmm.
He's that talented. If they don't, you just have to kind of wait to see as more information comes out about the injury. That's a wait and see.
Mm-hmm. I got you.
But if let's say. Now, here's a little trick. Like, let's say the PUP, like you want to get ahead of it. Let's say he goes on the PUP.
Mm-hmm.
Pick him up the week before he's coming off of it. If you know he's going to play him, whatever, like get him the week before because he's going to play a game and then everyone's going to be like, he's good to go. Like, no different than like Godwin or whatever.
Yep.
So like those are tricks as far as like always be proactive in those situations where if you're flexible enough to be able to do that.
Got you. No, I got you.
We'll move on to tight end here. TJ Hawkinson started out on fire. Started out on fire. He played in 12 games. He's had some injury issues. Finished at tight end 7 he's being drafted tight end 7, 60 overall. He had top 5 finish in 4 games, tight end 1 in 6 games. He didn't miss the last game of the season. He's a little rich for me at that tight end position.
Yeah, where's he going?
In that 60th overall, so 6th, 7th round. Only because I think there's a lot of wide receivers and running backs that I'd rather have. If he falls, let's say I'm on Brown steams, so that maybe there's a correlation between I'm on St. Brown steaming into the second and Hawkinson falling into 8, 9, 10. Then like that price is different.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm fading for now because, Jared Goff, he has more weapons. Maybe Hawkinson is his guy. I don't know.
That's rich for a 6.
He got a shit ton of targets early on in the season when he was playing. And then kind of fell off. He was banged up. But for me, I just can't land on him yet. I'm either drafting a tight end, to your point, in that first 3-4 rounds. And maybe that's a blind spot for me. Maybe I'm missing. But if he didn't have any more weapons, let's say it was the team last year, and he's being drafted there, then that's intriguing to me.
Because remember, Swift had a little dodgy ankle or knee the first 7 games because they kept bringing Jason Williams or what's the Jamal Williams. Yeah, they kept bringing him in. I remember because I was
Anyway, for me,
so you think he's too rich?
Yeah, for me, he's
down to almost 8th round, but still, you're talking about an 8th round pick. There's some wide receivers that are gems in the 8th.
Oh, so he is falling
a little bit, but again, this is
So if he falls into the 9-10 range for whatever reason, totally buy him.
Yeah, he'd have to drop below Goddard and Ertz though.
I would put him in that range.
Yeah, that's where I put him at for sure.
Should be. He's in that tier.
There's like 3 tiers.
He's in that
1,
tier.
2, and then everybody else.
He's in that. I like Ertz a lot.
I do too, especially for the first
6 games.
6 games. Yeah, for sure.
So but anyway, as far as just to kind of tidy up the Lions, as far as the defense, they're streaming. Like I said, they have the 25th or basically the 6th easiest schedule or whatever. I can't remember, but either way, they're easy streamable as far as. They're going to be much improved. I have money on their over.
They play the Bears twice.
I have actually a sprinkle on them to win the division.
Ooh, nice.
Call me crazy.
What's the over on that, or what's the?
It was 6-1.
Oh, not bad.
And then I have Dan Campbell at 30-1 to win the Coach of the Year.
That's a good bet. That's pretty badass, though.
So, yeah. And I watch. They're going to shit the bed because they're Lions. I'm going to get lined here. It's like the Browns, man, they're going to be great this year. They finally got it together. And then,
it's the Browns.
But, they're drafting pretty well. So, anyway, I think they're much improved.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're a fringe, as it stands, potential playoff team. But I do think they get to 7 or 8 games. They're meaning 7 or 8 wins.
You think they take... If they
don't win the division,
if they don't win, you think
I got froggy with the division bet.
But you think they're a wild card spot?
Potentially, I think they have enough talent.
The Vikings. You think?
I think they're in the same. They could be battling out for that.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's always the Packers, and then you get. We have the chances for the wild card.
I think the Vikings are more actually towards the Packers, though. So I think the Vikings are going to be. Their defense is a little rough but. I actually you'll talk about it, but I like the Vikings a lot. But I think the NFC North, other than our Bears, are actually not as bad.
Listen, but this is the first time we can ever say that. Okay, throw the Packers out. They've been always, but it's always yes, we get to play Minnesota and Detroit twice. Anymore, it's fuck, we got to play. But
actually, we're getting. But to kind of put a cap on that, I'm actually okay with Ryan Poles bottoming it out because it needs to happen.
We need to.
You stop renovating the building when it's rotting. You
can't just keep patching the hole. You got to buy.
And I think he's doing it the right way because he's like, hey, I'm gonna live or die on this hill, but I'm gonna do it my way, and I'm gonna gut the fucking thing and be done with it. Yeah. And if I lose, I at least I learned my way. I'm not going to.
You're going to get fired whether you lose or whether you almost make the playoffs anyway.
Exactly.
So,
it's like being an 8 seed in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
It's either you don't want to be the middling team.
Yeah.
You either want the lottery pick or be in the
you want to have
or be in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yes.
Or 10.
Whether that's right for the sport is a different conversation. Yeah. But that's really what it is. Now there are some teams that I think no different than the Lions. I think it's important for them to aspire them making the playoffs. That's them taking a next step to being okay, we're a QB away. There are teams that way, where hey, we're young. Us making the playoffs is we're learning to win. But the Bears it does nothing for them.
Yeah.
They need to gut it. They have no fucking draft picks because Ryan Pace threw that fucking thing under the bus, couldn't draft for his fucking asshole. I went on a sidebar, but and then Matt Nagy, BU, you should probably not be you if you keep fucking losing.
Yeah.
And would just took basically Andy Reid's offense, me taking a Madden playbook, but hey, here's the plays we're going to call.
Hey, this worked. This,
flag left. Get some play.
What do you mean? Keep running up the middle.
Yeah,
no, stop. 3rd and 17.
Yeah.
Run up the middle.
Yeah, well, or just like he wouldn't cater because I think he was an offensive facilitator. Like, hey, I run my business this way. Oh, okay, I know how to run it. Okay, now go run your own business. Well, I'm going to run. Not to say you don't have influences, but like, I'm going to go run it this way.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you have Sally, Susie, and Tommy that don't work the way I do. How are you going to run your business now? Like, the ability to adapt.
There's a difference between a coordinator and a coach.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
if you try to run your offense as a coordinator, as a coach, then you are already.
You got Justin Fields and you tried to run the same fucking offense. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But no, so I'm glad to be that does roll us on into the Vikings.
Yes.
So Vikings got a new pass-happy offense, new coach, former Rams offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell. So let's talk about Kirk Cousins. ADP 15th, QB off the board. I think it's a great pick at 15. If you want to scoop in a late QB, I think 15 is a little low for him. If it's a need, you got to go at it. He's top 10 last year in pass attempts of 30-plus yards. Now, that's a huge fucking, stat because you got to look at his squad. His weapons are phenomenal. So we got to talk about Double J, Justin Jefferson. I love this cat. I mean, I drafted him as fast as I could, as high as I could, his rookie year and after. So, I mean, he's all-around talent. I mean, 1,660 receiving yards last year, second most out of everybody. There was just one cat that was a little bit better than him as far as wide receivers go. Yeah.
Who had like a historic season.
He had broke every record in the world. So I'm comfortable taking him top 6. I would say 6. I'm comfortable taking him at a 6 spot. So now that does depend on what happens. But what are your thoughts on, I would take Justin Jefferson, I think, before I would take Jamar Chase. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, "That's the dumbest thing you've ever said."
No, I'm in that camp.
I think that Joe Burrow is. I think he's an amazing quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but I think I think they have way more passing options now. In Cincy than I think that they do have in Minnesota. So, what are your thoughts on?
I'm in the camp with you on that. I think Jamar Chase is a tremendous talent.
Phenomenal, yes, absolutely.
But I think he was highly, highly efficient last year. Highly. So he had 128 targets, 81 receptions, and 1,400 yards. 18 yards per reception. With 13 TDs. I think Justin Jefferson gets way more volume. And I think now, to your point, it's more pass happy with Mike Zimmer, although he has some hot ass 25-year-old something. Good for him. Hey man, I'm looking at you like, hey, look, if I'm his age, and it's allowed. His wife dies, and he's like, hey,
I'll allow it.
Same thing with. I should bring up Robert Kraft, but then he was getting rubbing tugs down in Jacksonville.
Maybe not.
No, but he went young too. But anyway, so they were like Mike Zimmer constantly battled with his coordinators. He wanted to be more run heavy. He's a defensive minded. They bring him a Rams guy, and also Kirk Cousins. People dog him, or they just kind of think he's middling. But to me, he's kind of like the Mike Evans of wide receivers.
Yeah.
Always finishes QB1, but yet gets drafted in the 10th and 11th round every year. Like if you you punt on quarterback, Kirk Cousins, he's gonna be a QB12 he's every game, and he's gonna have spike games where he's a QB. Like, and especially with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen when he's healthy is a touchdown magnet. And I'm sure you'll talk about a lot of it, but like, I think Kirk Cousins, is, to your original point, I think he is always standard. Same with like Matthew Stafford. Like he's going 10th round stuff, like quarterbacks that you can get that are on good offenses with good weapons. For me, Justin Jefferson, I look at him, he's only going to get upgraded based on this offense with, probably more innovative, I should say. So in 2021, or last year, Jefferson went for 167 targets, 108 receptions, 1,616 yards.
Look at that. Out of 108 receptions, 1660.
I know. 15 yards per reception, which is 3 yards lower than, but on more volume.
Right.
So, like, what I'm saying with Jamar Chase is, like, he was so efficient. And he had Justin Jefferson had 10 touchdowns. Okay? But, like, Jamar Chase was so efficient.
There were some passes he caught.
Gotta be, and this is the
80 to 90.
Oh yeah, where like bounced off the.
And it was like there was some that but don't get me wrong. I mean, that's because he's that amazing of a player.
Oh yeah,
that there's probably not a lot of other.
But like at some point, like that,
there's going to be regression. You're right.
Yeah, I know the buzzword in the fantasy regression, positive and negative, but there will be that. There just will be. So I'm Justin Jefferson over Jamar. If you decide you like Jamar more, it's not gonna be
right,
like,
and it makes perfect sense. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
but for me, I think, and also, his volume is just crazy.
He's such a monster, and his route running is so crazy because he reminds me of he reminds me of a Jerry Rice, kind of how he gets his route and he does. It's like he's like somebody just studies a book and he's going to do it perfectly. He's going to run that route perfect. He doesn't have really a custom, different like a Stephon Diggs, who does some different things. But he's like, where's the ball going to be? I'm going to go get it. And then his yards after catch are phenomenal.
I mean, think about his rookie year. He had 125 targets as opposed to 167. 88 receptions for 1,400 yards. So he's highly efficient as a rookie. 15.9 yards per reception, 7 touchdowns out of that. So, and his catch percentage was a little bit higher. And his yards per target as a rookie was 11.2 as opposed to 9.7. So in a more pass heavy, they're going to have more pass attempts this year. Their neutral game script, which what I mean by this is like when the game's within a touchdown or less, that's a neutral game script, meaning like, and we'll talk about, negative game scripts are important for passing, but neutral game scripts, their neutral pass to run ratio was like, it was one of the bottom in the league where they were running more in the neutral game script. But yet the Rams are like through the fucking roof. Yeah. So like, they're like top 5 in the league at neutral, so you'll probably see a lot more of like first down passes as opposed to like, I mean, they have Dalvin Cook, like, and if I have Dalvin Cook, I'm going to run him too. But he's probably even going to get more targets, which is insane to me. I mean, he had 108 receptions. He probably, even if he's in that range, I think he's going to be the wide receiver 1. That's my hot take.
I think
he's going to. Cooper Kupp was insane, and I think he'll still be. That's historical.
It is
like historical what he did.
It's like he was just so good. All he needed was but whenever that happens, the word regression makes sense because here's the deal. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I am going to throw everybody at Cooper Kupp. I don't care. You can go get whatever you want, Van Jefferson or who else they pull in.
Allen Robinson.
Yeah, so I mean like.
So draft Allen Robinson.
Exactly. It's one of those things that makes sense. It's like every year that somebody does something totally different that blows everything off now we're going to game script.
Well, yeah. And I mean, when we talk regression, and I want to put this out there so like somebody like Cooper Kupp, if he regresses, which he will, I mean, let's say he regresses by 15%. He's still a fucking wide receiver 1. So like when you look at it, understand what that means. Like, man, he wasn't as good as last year. Motherfucker still went for 1,800 yards and whatever. So like
always going to take him over.
Like people always say he's like, well, he's going to regress. I'm like, how far? So if it's 20%, I'll still take him.
Yeah.
But I think Justin Jefferson has potential to go higher than what he did last year, which is an insane year.
No, I mean, because look at really his I'll touch on Thielen a little bit. I like Adam Thielen. He's going right around wide receiver 30. You can scoop him in the 7th, almost 8th round. He's been double digit TGs in 2020. He had 14. 2021 he had 10. He has the potential for sure for 8 to 10 touchdowns. If you can get somebody in the 7th, almost 8th round that can get you 10 touchdowns as a wide receiver, you'd be fucking stupid to not do it. Now keep in mind that's not taking into effect the new pass-heavy offense. So, that's pretty much all I really want to say about Thielen. Don't sleep on him. If you had him a couple years ago when he had what do you have, like 18?
Yeah.
20 something? He had a year where
he battles injuries every once in a while, but he's a high red zone target.
Yes.
I mean, and when I say battles injuries, he played 13 games last year, played 15 games the year before. This 2019 season, he was banged up. He played 10 games.
Yeah.
But then he played 16, 16, and 16. So, don't get too overly biased on the injuries. Yeah, he missed a couple, but to your point, in the last 2 years, he's had 24 TDs.
Yeah. It's bananas. I mean, if he's not injured, it's going to happen.
No, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think, if anything, I think you could see, positive progression with that. So, hey, want to roll into the heart and soul of the Vikings has been Mr. Dalvin Cook, ADP 6 running back, off the board, 10th overall. So you're talking about a running back. It's absolutely phenomenal. And you can sneak him in late first, early second. I know that they're moving towards a pass heavy, but my concern is his reception. So his receptions have been down. He had 53 receptions in 2019, 44, so 10 down in 2020, and then only 34 last year, 2021. Now, taking effect, there could be a couple games he'd missed here and there. But the biggest thing is, he missed 4 games last year, and he only scored, though, a total of 6 touchdowns. So my concern is if you move towards a more pass-heavy, a more pass-heavy offense, where you have 2 good wide receivers and then, bringing in Irv Smith as a tight end, my concern is they might not pass as much. So I guess and that's just my concern. Because again, we haven't seen this offense, so we don't know what it's going to look like. So, what are your thoughts on Dalvin Cook? Do you like him where he's at? I mean, 6 overall, 6 RB, 10th overall. Do you see anything based on this offense that will increase his receptions?
I like him where he's at, and actually, I think he's a very good late first round running back. So, if you actually look at it as far as the receptions. He had 34 last year, but he had 49 targets. The year before, he had 44 receptions, but on 54 targets. So that's 5 different.
But some of those are the scrambling and tossing away.
No, but true. But what I'm saying is
he was still
he
targeting
can catch the ball.
Yeah.
So he's had 53, 44, and 34. It was down last year, to your point. His catch rate was down. But if we know the Rams offense, they like to throw screens. They like to throw these little angle routes, these flare routes, these wheel routes, and he can catch it. That's not a problem. Mm-hmm. And for those, they have the injury bug. So his first 2 years, 2017, he played 4 games towards ACL.
Yeah.
2018, he played 11 games, but he's gone 14, 14, and 13. And I'll take that from Dalvin Cook. Yeah. I would like it to be up more for the whole season. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he played 13 games. Think about this efficiency and had 1159. And 6 touchdowns, to your point. What propelled him a year ago, or in 2020, the COVID year, he played 14 games.
Right.
He had 1,500 yards, but he also rushed 60 more times. I mean, they were throwing.
Yeah, he also had
with 1 game extra, 60 more times. So they were beating him into the ground. And he had 16 touchdowns. So he's probably a candidate to go up in touchdown.
Okay.
And I think he's going to catch the ball more in this offense.
And that's my.
If it's me and I'm the Rams, okay, I'm going to throw more. I want Dalvin Cook involved in this. No different than Todd Gurley was in the Rams. I mean, they're going to go. Sean McVay's known for it. They're going to go and treat their personnel with what I got. If I want to throw the ball more, and then when Todd Gurley left, they didn't really have that, so they didn't throw as much to the running back.
Yeah.
If I view him kind of in that Aaron Jones category.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I definitely think it's so. Because when you look at overall, I think you named exactly right. The running backs I was going to compare him to is I think he, I like him. I think him and he fits almost like a McCaffrey. How he does catch the ball. He's able to do routes. You know what I mean? Because some running backs can just do the dump off.
I think he's great when he catches the ball.
I think he's able to do different things where he's looking ahead. He knows the ball's there and he's ready to go. He doesn't make the dumb running back errors where he just pops him off the helmet. You know what I'm saying? So he's smart enough to know the routes. And I'd love to see him healthy. And I think he's a fucking steal taking him at the end of the first.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think that's a steal.
Oh yeah, so do I. Sure. If people go wide receiver and there's running backs off the board and he falls you at 9, 10, 11, 12,
A guaranteed pass catcher.
Yeah, and you'll sleep well at night.
All right. So I do want to. All right, so I want to wrap up the old Vikings here with a name that you brought up that I'm not familiar with this player at all. Irv Smith. So, tell me a little bit about how he's going to impact the Vikings as a tight end.
He is interesting. He's a late round kind of grab. He's, I believe, average. Oh yeah, he's going about 15th, 14th, 125th.
Wow, 14th tight end.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's going. I mean, you might want to check your trend, but I'm looking at more of a static site. He's going around where Cole Kmet's going, and I think he's a good pick.
Yeah, he's back-to-back Cole Kmet.
Yeah, so honestly, I think they're going to be passing more.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Conklin, who is the other tight end there, he went to the Jets.
He wasn't really a big...
No, but I mean, he would play a lot more. Kyle Rudolph finally left.
Yeah.
I think he's interesting as a late round tight end dart throw. Just based on opportunity. And he was talented coming out. He really was.
Yeah, I mean, they got him slated for 5 TDs, but yeah.
I mean, he didn't, blow the... He didn't, blow up anything. It just, more or less, he was talented. They got rid of their tight ends. Yeah, there's Justin Jefferson. Yeah, there's Dalvin Cook. Yeah, there's Adam Thielen. But, it's the same thing for me. I'm going to take tight ends if I'm taking a dart throw on good offenses.
Right.
No different than, Big Bob Tonyan. I'm sure we'll get into,
even Hurts.
Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, Hurst is going, yep.
In Cincinnati, we saw CJ Uzoma do similar. He's talented. He's going into his third year, which we tend to see tight ends take that kind of leap if they do. And like I said, there's no other tight end there. The depth chart is it's.
So who do you are? So let me ask you a question. So you've got, let's say Cole Kmet's off the board. Okay. You have to go Noah Fant, Njoku, Irv Smith, or Higbee.
I go Irv Smith in that.
So yeah.
Just because of the upside.
Yep. I like that.
Noah Fant, I can't now because, if Baker had gone there, it would have been interesting.
But Noah Fant never showed up. He never showed up. I know he had Drew Lock. I know, but even he had a lot of injury concern and stuff.
Here's
hoping he would stay for.
Here's the depth chart at tight end for the Minnesota Vikings. So it's Irv Smith, Ben Ellefson.
First off, that sounds like a fake name.
That's a creative player for Madden.
Yeah, exactly.
Johnny Munt, the other creative player.
Yeah, just the random name.
And
generator.
Zach Davidson.
Yeah, that's
I'm terrible. There's nothing else there. He's starting. Now you might see more 3 wide receiver sets there with KJ Osborne, who is an interesting late play too.
Yep, I like that.
He's an interesting late play. Yep. So they might go more 3 because the Rams like to go 3 wide receiver sets. But Irv Smith is, if you pass on tight end and you're chasing late,
he's a good ceiling.
He's viable.
Yeah. Well, good shit. Well, hey, this kind of wraps up episode 1. 2 hours, covered the NFC North. Not bad. I love this shit. And again, I appreciate you being here. That's why I call you the Almanac. It all started, I remember it was 2000. Fuck, man, it would have been 2004. Okay. And I remember texting you way back before I even worked at Best Buy. And I was like, I had a fantasy. I was like, dude, I'm about to make I am. Who do I start? And this is this is over a decade ago for sure. This is, almost going on 20 years.
Oh, yeah?
I remember you were just like, boom, 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 boom. And then randomly, every couple of years, they'd be like, hey, man, you're like, oh, well, boom, you had the stats, you knew it. And it kind of goes back to my thing is, just learn, go out there, find you a source that you like. And if it makes sense, do it. But at the end of the day, it's fantasy. It's supposed to be fun.
Yes.
And I love this shit. It's the most fun thing I think that I do in my free time. I love every single part of it. So I'm excited to get kicked into the season. Tomorrow we're going to be doing AFC South. That would be the South of the AFC. Not statistically and geography doesn't make sense, but But yeah, so you got anything for the
No, I
the
mean,
show?
I think, this was a lot of fun, and yeah, understand that it's fun. We're sitting here having a conversation about football,
Mm-hmm.
about people that don't know us,
Yeah.
and, go into these, like, don't get me wrong, I've gotten annoyed or mad, like, damn, I made that play. But, like, it doesn't make or break my evening, and it shouldn't with anybody else. It's supposed to be fun, and what I like about it is I enjoy the competitiveness of it, I enjoy the camaraderie of it, and I enjoy diving into the math of it just because that's how I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so, enjoy it. Hopefully we can provide some semblance of information. I understand probably the people listening aren't into it as much as I am, so I'm trying to give it to more of a casual side of things, to kind of give. So feel free, give feedback to Kyle on the show, and we have no problem addressing that as well.
Yeah.
As this goes on, thanks. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to me. Reach out to me on Facebook if you guys have any questions. Anything. If you're like, hey, I have some questions about this person. Again, we're not genius or anything. We just, I just happen to not have a wife, kids, and I spend every waking minute looking up fantasy research.
I do, and I still do that.
And he goes, I sneak away.
Yeah.
I got a whole family. I'm just sneaking in the basement.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, reach out any questions you have. Post them on Facebook. Let us know. We'll get at it. So we'll see y'all tomorrow for FantasyCast with Rhetro and the Queez, AFC South.
See ya.